might have a whole new professional identity, and that is that we all want to go up to Congress and help them learn how to communicate. So it seemed like a tiny thing to say. There are two events converging now, both the Cottingham seminar that we have today and also my master's class of 1973. We are here celebrating our 40th meeting. So I wanted to kind of combine those two things because it occurred to me that, of course, Dr. Cottingham was here in 1973, and also that our journey in the field has gone through kind of the developmental stages of this field. And I'm sure there'll be lots more to unfold, but I kind of want to run through them with you. I have an assistant, Natalie Javara, who she is a graduated in psychology. She's an incredible assistant, and she also knows how to do technical stuff that I am challenged with. So she's going to be showing some PowerPoint stuff. So the first thing I want to do is show you some pictures. Natalie will show you some pictures. Okay, now which one of these pictures do you think looks like the graduates of the class of 1973?
Both of them.
Both of them. Yes, why? Anybody have any idea why both?
From the mouths of babes.
From the mouths of babes, yes, kind of. Actually, the child on the left, I was pregnant when I graduated. So I hid him. He'll be 40 this year. He graduated with me. And honestly, honest to Pete, those of you who are here know that our class looks a lot like this. In fact, one of my colleagues, Dr. Kelly Price, could be the woman on the front. So you can see we've gone through a lot of stages and progression. So really, I wanted to comment too about Dr. Cottingham, and Dr. Scranton was saying how he pioneered encounter groups. And I just wanted to say a word about that, about those of us who attended encounter groups. Back during those days, y'all had yet to find out that if you had too much anxiety in a group, that it would just kind of overtake everything. Okay? Our anxiety was this. And it was a time of experimentation. And I have to tell you, the class of 73 were so sharp, and I knew myself so little, that we would do things like go around and say 2 things you didn't like about that person. I want to tell you, by the time you heard 16 things, I felt like I needed an EMT to pick me up from the group. And it would take me a week to recover, and then I would come back. But I have to say that in all these intervening years, I got to know my shadow side so well. And I have heard very few comments about faults since then that I did not hear from these people. Up until the present time. In fact, the 3 of us got on the phone to collaborate, and we just fell right back into it. And be really straightforward with each other and really honest. And our professors were like that too. In fact, I see Dr. Hanks over there, who often said to me, "Shut up, you were talking too much." When she was behind a 2-way mirror, just shut up and let the client say something. So there was a great degree of honesty, a great degree of camaraderie, which will carry you through your career, which is so needed in this career. I still have colleagues where we walk out into the hall and download on each other. I think one of the incredible things about being in this field is that a couple of days into the program, I realized I had found my own time. I found people like myself. And that is an incredible blessing when you're in a field that's a fit for you. So I want to take just a minute to show you a little clip of Carl Rodgers, because Dr. Cottingham was a Carl Rodgers devotee. And in my mind, Carl Rodgers and Dr. Cottingham are blended because they were so much alike. And I just want to take a moment to show what he said and to also say that the current brain research really substantiates a lot of what he said. That we have mirror neurons in our head, that we can actually mirror what someone else is saying or their experience in our head. And that is a very powerful kind of tool for communication. So I think it's really interesting after all these years that the connection, the attunement, that those kinds of things are being shown in the literature, and especially in the neuropsych literature, to be so valuable and so important. So let me just show a minute of Carl Rodgers, and this could be Dr. Cottingham's philosophy as well.
I'm very fortunate, and the client is very fortunate. If I can feel I really accept you fully just as you are. Sometimes that's very difficult. I know the view with a young man in South Africa. I didn't know anything about him. It turned out he was an officer in the South African Army. Now, for me, that meant it meant that I stretched my empathic abilities to their very limit to try to be with him, to try to understand him, to try to be caring toward him. I didn't feel I did too well. And yet, I've learned since that interview really changed the course of his life. So, I feel that if I can be genuinely understanding, try to listen not only to the words but to the meaning, trying to understand the person that's hidden within each one of us, that's helpful. If I really care about this person in an unconditional way, that's helpful. If I can really be myself in the relationship, not a professional expert, not a quote psychologist, not a psychotherapist, just me in that relationship, that's helpful. All those things are possible, and when they come together, that creates a very powerful climate for change, for growth, for drawing out the potential of the client.
If there was one word that I would say characterized Dr. Cottingham, it was authenticity. That's what was so important, and Carl Rodgers expressed that well. I want to say that carried us a long way in working with different populations. Like I see Carl Mahler back there, who's in my class. And Carl and I worked at a psychiatric hospital together. And I would say one of the really important principles we learned was how to be authentic and how to connect with someone where they were. And Carl, I remember when you were working with a catatonic. Do all the students know what a catatonic is? Yeah, they can't move and whatever. And Carl was so with this man in trying to use food as a way to get him to start to move. And that's a skill that we learned in our program, and then we were able to generalize it to different populations. One of my favorite quotes, in fact, one of my clients told me it's going to be on my gravestone, because I'm always telling clients this, because they live in their heads sometimes instead of in the real world. But it's a quote from Rainier Rilke, from the poet, and what he said is, be patient with all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the question. The point is to live everything. Live the questions. And one day you will live your way to the answers. And I want to talk a little bit about how I lived my way to answers about what was authentic for me in my professional identity. And I think as I go through this, it'll be a good review because honestly, I've done a little bit of everything over 40 years. So I want to kind of start with some true or false questions because these are probably the biggest lessons I learned from each of these settings. So the first one, my first job was a vocational rehab counselor. So let me ask you, true or false, vocational rehabilitation works with people with physical disabilities. Not only physical disabilities, also mental disabilities. And Carl and I kind of kept hopscotching. This is a really important thing I want to say about professional identity too, is that as you network with one another, you can recommend each other for jobs. And that's a really important thing. So Carl recommended me for my first job in voc rehab. Now, it was quite an experience because we didn't study a whole lot of mental illness. So I wasn't really knowledgeable. So just picture a very long table, and sitting at the end is a psychiatrist, big guy, very daunting situation where he would ask us questions, and he would sit there silently if you didn't have an answer. And you had all your colleagues around the table. So, you know, as with all of us, we have to learn. Okay, I didn't know jack. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out, sweating bullets, what are the questions? Because if you didn't know, and no one would prepare you for this, if you didn't know, then you'd wind up flipping all through your chart trying to find it while he's sitting there looking at you. He later became my husband. So I'm not scared of him. But that was quite an auspicious beginning for us. So that was my first job. My second job was working at a psychiatric hospital, psychiatric inpatient. And that was in 1977. So in 1974 to 77, I worked for voc rehab with majorly mentally ill clients. And then I went to work at the psych hospital. So here's a true or false question. All you need to know for working with the mentally ill is found in the DSM-5. Now, I'm only saying this because he's moved on, but I had a professor who told me that. I said, well, I'm kind of worried that I don't know so much about mental illness. He said, all you need to know is the DSM. And back then it was the DSM-2. Well, so one of my first clients had wrapped his entire mobile home in aluminum foil, just because they were space invaders. So I wanted to use logic with him and to say, you know, don't you think that was expensive? Use all that aluminum foil, whatever, and you know, but very quickly I realized you can't argue with people's delusional system. You just kind of like need to go with it. And my husband was just a master. My husband grew up on the grounds of Florida State Hospital. So he literally, the children at the hospital of the staff there went to the movies with the patient. So they would all fight for who got the front row. They went to the dances. So he is so comfortable with major mental illness, and he makes them so comfortable. And he will just sit there and talk about, like one guy was walking down the hall recently at TMH backwards. And so my husband starts walking backwards with him. Now see, again, this is tuning in. This is attunement. And he says, why do you do this? And he just walked backwards with him. And the guy says, well, because I can see who's coming. So he didn't argue with that. He was like, okay, all right, I get it, I'm with you. I'm into that. Okay, so my next job was in '78, I went to work as the assistant director of a substance abuse program. So here's the true or false question about that. There's significant changes in the brain as a result of alcohol and drug addiction. True. Back then, we didn't know that. We did not know. It was before they were doing all the brain scans. The 90s was the decade of the brain. But what I saw was how difficult it was to give it up. I recently heard a talk from a man from Duke, who's the head of the dual diagnosis unit up there. He's a psychiatrist. And what he said was they're doing a lot of research now, and what they're finding is that the dopamine receptors in the brain get affected by too much alcohol or drugs. So therefore, that person does not get pleasure from anything else. And I knew that. I found that out as I was working with these people, how hard it was for them to find anything else that was satisfying. But we now know why. So I worked with that population. After that, I became, in '79, the director of crisis programs for a mental health center. Now, we got kicked out of the neighborhood because they said our patients were too dangerous. So here's a true or false question. Mentally ill are significantly more dangerous than other people. No, they're not. Yeah, they're a little bit, sometimes they can be combative, but on the whole, no. But I also learned, and you're gonna have to work with politics, because it was the city that threw us out. And what led to this happening is that there was already a movement to kick us out. And we had a young woman that got picked up on I-10 who was barefoot and pregnant. She was 8 months pregnant. She wasn't a danger to anybody. But they were evaluating her at our center, and she wandered into the house across the street. She didn't know where she was. Unfortunately, the house across the street was the leader of the people to evict.
Wow.
So the next thing I knew, it was on the evening news. So the politics are going to be very important in many, many ways. And another way that politics are going to be very important is about money and funding. And also, who's got the money to advertise? And one thing I would say that's going to be really important for your future, pharmaceutical companies have mega budgets to advertise. They also have a lot of side effects. We have to embrace our personal identities and say we have evidence-based ways that work as well, and don't necessarily involve medication. But we're going to have to get, as a profession, much more sophisticated about the whole political kind of process that goes on in advertising. Okay. I came to a fork in the road in '78 after that job and after the crisis job in the early '80s, where I realized I had become an administrator, and it didn't necessarily suit me. That can happen. You wind up getting promotions into administration, and for some people that's a great fit. It wasn't for me. So I had to look again for my path with heart. And I remember I went to a workshop, and the workshop had us talk about what we loved to do when we were a kid. What did we love to do when we were 10? So if you would, just turn to the person next to you and just take a minute and talk about what kinds of things you loved to do when you were a child and what that might have to do with the best path for you using your career. And let me give you an example. I love to write. So I'm writing, I would love to set up, to be with people, to work with people. I do private practice. And I love to kind of like do planning for productions in our neighborhood, whatever. So I wind up doing some media work. So then I hit on all my cylinders. So take just a minute, those of you that are students, those of you that are not, don't have to do this unless you want to figure out what you're not doing in your So I think that we all have to stay in touch with our own authenticity and be authentic with our clients, but also authentic with ourselves. So just in summary, there's a favorite quote that I have about psychotherapy, and it's by Anthony Wright. He says, the purpose of psychotherapy is to expand your ability to live your life by choice. We're not going to make the choices for people, but we want them to see what the unconscious barriers are, what stops them. So I think that's true for us as well. And Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss and find the things that really are meaningful to you. So in summary, I would say we want to connect with our authenticity, with our own inner world. And we have mirror neurons in our head where we can connect with the reality of another person. And that's an incredible gift of this profession, that they share their deepest, most meaningful secrets with us. Follow your bliss. Live the questions. Really live them, don't just live in your head. Try different things. Find out about different populations. Know what you're doing. And forgive yourself. Make mistakes. And know that you too will probably be sitting at a long table one day feeling pretty dumb. Maybe it's a future spouse, who knows? And that you can change direction if you need to. I think we all have to be flexible in this profession. I see all the incredible changes since we've been in this profession, and I'm sure that's not going to stop. Thank you.